Coming up on 5 Minute News. January 6 committee to vote on criminal referrals. Texas officer convicted in killing of black woman. And US air defense systems could be Russian targets in Ukraine. It's Friday, December 16. I'm Anthony Davis. The House committee investigating the Capitol riot will hold its final meeting on Monday, wrapping up its year-and-a-half-long inquiry by asking the Justice Department to investigate potential crimes. The committee of 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans has interviewed more than 1,000 witnesses, held nearly a dozen hearings, and collected millions of documents as it worked to create the most comprehensive record of the insurrection on the 6th of January, 2021. Chairman Representative Benny Thompson has said the committee will make criminal referrals to the Justice Department recommending prosecution, but has not disclosed who the targets would be or whether former President Donald Trump would be among them. It would fall to federal prosecutors to decide whether to pursue any referrals for prosecution. Lawmakers have suggested charges against Trump could include conspiracy to defraud the United States and obstruction of an official proceeding of Congress. Last month, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel, Jack Smith, to oversee investigations related to Trump, including one focused on the insurrection and attempts to overturn the 2020 election results. A former Texas police officer was convicted of manslaughter on Thursday for fatally shooting a Tatiana Jefferson through a rear window of her home in 2019, a rare conviction for an officer for killing someone who was also armed with a gun. Jurors also considered a murder charge against Aaron Dean, but instead convicted him of manslaughter. The conviction comes more than 3 years after the white Fort Worth officer shot the 28-year-old black woman while responding to a call about an open front door. 38-year-old Dean faces up to 20 years in prison, with the sentencing phase of his trial set to begin today. He had faced up to life in prison if convicted of murder. Dean, who had been free on bond, was booked into the Tarrant County Jail following the verdict. Jurors deliberated for more than 13 hours over 2 days before finding him guilty of manslaughter. The primary dispute during the 6 days of testimony and arguments was whether Dean knew Jefferson was armed when he shot her. Dean testified that he saw her weapon. Prosecutors alleged the evidence showed otherwise. Dean shot Jefferson on October 12, 2019, after a neighbor called a non-emergency police line to report that the front door to Jefferson's Fort Worth home was open. She had been playing video games that night with her nephew, and it emerged at trial that they left the doors open to vent smoke from hamburgers that the boy had burned. The case has been repeatedly postponed amid lawyerly wrangling, the terminal illness of Dean's lead attorney, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Body camera footage showed that Dean and a second officer who responded to the call didn't identify themselves as police at the house. Dean and Officer Carol Darch testified that they thought the house might have been burgled and quietly moved into the fenced-off backyard, looking for signs of forced entry. There, Dean, whose gun was drawn, fired a single shot through the window, a split second after shouting at Jefferson, who was inside, to show her hands. Police brutality in the U.S. is showing no sign of abating, despite high-profile executions such as that of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Russia's foreign ministry warned on Thursday that if the U.S. delivers sophisticated air defense systems to Ukraine, those systems and any crews that accompany them would be a legitimate target for the Russian military. That was quickly rejected by Washington. The exchange of statements reflected soaring Russia-US tensions amid the fighting in Ukraine, which is now in its 10th month. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said the US had effectively become a party to the war by providing Ukraine with weapons and training its troops. She added that if reports about US intentions to provide Kiev with Patriot surface-to-air missile system prove true, it would become another provocative move by the US and broaden its involvement in the hostilities, entailing possible consequences. Asked about the Russian warning, Pentagon spokesman Air Force General Pat Ryder responded that the US was not going to allow comments from Russia to dictate the security assistance that we provide to Ukraine. US officials said on Tuesday that Washington was posed to approve sending a Patriot missile battery to Ukraine, finally agreeing to an urgent request from Ukrainian leaders desperate for more robust weapons to shoot down incoming Russian missiles that have crippled much of the country's vital infrastructure. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.